I have watched it. I have finally watched it. You see, when I try indulging myself to television, I would rather just see a movie straight up. Time is one of my most scarce resources, so I seldomly have enough to commit to series. But you guys came to me and said, Neze, I want you to watch The Polygamist. Neze, I want you to watch The Polygamist and break it down for us. Tell us what you think. And I have. Have we introduced this video? Oh, I don't think so. So hello guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. The Polygamist is a 22. I'm going to relax a little in this video because we are analyzing, we're not discussing something so serious. The Polygamist is a 22 episode South African series. It was released on Netflix in June this year. Most episodes run for roughly an hour, giving the full season approximately 11 hours of exceptional storytelling. The series is based on The Polygamist, a novel by Zimbabwean actor Sue Nyanti. She wrote a book in 2010 and published it herself in 2012. After several publishers rejected it. So yeah, that's our Harry Potter. And plans to turn it into a film or series began around 2013, but the project did not move forward until Netflix came in 2024. That's already one lesson. Success might take time, but what is yours will eventually be yours, right? Now, what makes The Polygamist even more special is how different African talents came together to bring it to life. The original story, as I mentioned, came from a Zimbabwean author, Sue. Nigerian filmmaker Akin Omotosho joined the project as showrunner and director. So he helped to move the story from book to the screen. And then a solid South African production team brought everything together. It was such a beautiful African collaboration, and the teamwork did pay off. In fact, it further emphasized how much more we can do, how much more we can achieve when we Africans unify and see ourselves as collaborators rather than competitors. Good one. Now, having given the crew the recognition they very well deserve, let us get into discussing the story. Go, the story proper. Because behind the beautiful clothes, the houses, and the cinematography is one of the most chaotic examples of deception, chaos, and family destruction that I have ever watched. Quick reminder, if you are new here, you are seeing my face for the first time, or if you've been watching us and you're forgetting to subscribe, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Give this video a big thumbs up. Drop your thoughts down in the comment section as we gist. And stay glued, for there is so much more coming your way. Don't forget to grab a copy of our book, The Unbroken Spirit. It is a wonderful resource to spotting harm, building, and naming things for what they are, and essential for single and married people. All right, so opening that series with the funeral scene was such a very smart strategy for me. Joyce standing there in white, surrounded by everyone else in black, already made her feel different. I wanted to know, who is this particular woman? And then she leaned towards the cops and whispered something. I can't quite remember right now, but it ended in motherfucker. I sat up at this point and I was like, what is happening here? That one moment told us that there was history and there was tension even before we understood what happened. Now let me tell you this twist. Most films and movies and series will try their best to hide clues of how the movie will end. From the beginning, they'll be hiding it. You won't know the twist, right? So that the viewers will stay curious and watching. But this series did something different. It showed us where the story will end. And then, instead of cancelling curiosity, it created a whole new level of curiosity. Now, instead of asking, what will happen? I immediately began asking, damn, how the hell did this happen? The open coffin, the slow controlled camera movement, the whole scene was so heavy And it made me want to keep watching until everything finally made sense. And that was exactly what happened. When I started watching, I could not take a break. The Polygamist, as I already hinted, begins at the end with the funeral of wealthy businessman Joyce Gomera. I'm sure the production crew didn't notice, but I did. My crazy brain did, because I find that name Gomorrah so ideal, because what in the Sodom and Gomorrah happened in that film? What in the Sodom and Gomorrah was that? So his wife Joyce arrives and walks to his open casket. From every indication, she wasn't a grieving widow mourning the love of her life. This woman was angry, and you could tell. And then the story took us back several years to show us exactly how Joyce ended up in that coffin. Now, I'll be doing my analysis character by character, not based on storyline. Let us begin with none other but Joyce Gomera. If you've seen this series, begin telling me down in the comment section which of the characters was your favorite, right? Joyce Gomera was played brilliantly by South African actress Gugu Gumede, and boy, she embodied the role like she was born just for that role. Love her. Joyce was not only Joyce's wife, she was the woman who helped him, who packaged him, polished him, and presented him to the world as a respectable and successful man. She was born rich. She has always been a rich woman, born into a wealthy family. But Joyce came from the grassroots, the gutters, so to speak. So Joy had been married to Joyce for over 20 years. Together they built a successful business empire and raised their children, Menzi and Mpume. Joyce had equal shares with her husband in their company. So she was a co-owner, but she didn't work there at the company. Her husband ran it while she did her own thing as an online personality and influencer. I like that twist, something different. It didn't have to be a businessman, a corporate. They had to bring something relatable to, modern times. So Joyce was an online personality and influencer. On social media, Joyce presented herself as the woman with the perfect husband, the perfect family, and the perfect marriage. But behind closed doors, the marriage was already in serious trouble. Joyce, her husband, had moved out of the family home and was living with his mistress and employee, Matiba. Oh, your job, Matiba. You, if I catch you. Whom he planned to leave Joyce for. Joyce's greatest problem was not simply that she loved Joyce. In fact, I did not even know when she stopped loving him, because there was more to her mission than love. Her identity had become completely tied to being Joyce's wife. She was Mrs. Gomera, the woman with the successful husband, the beautiful family, the business empire, and the marriage people admired online. So when Joyce tried to leave her for Matiba, Joyce didn't see it as just losing a husband or losing a marriage. She felt like she was losing position, losing identity, losing history, losing her years of hard work, her investment, her public image, and the legacy that she had helped build. And that explains why she refused to sign the divorce papers, why she staged the anniversary celebration. It wasn't just about love for Joyce, it was about image. So she refused to step aside, and she began doing everything under the surface of the earth to save her marriage, to preserve this public image that formed a huge part of her identity. What didn't she do? She cried, she begged, she fought, she physically attacked the side chick, set a home on fire. There was nothing she didn't do to no avail. So when that mistress Matiba wouldn't leave her husband, her man, instead went ahead to get pregnant for the man and birthed twins, Joyce did something we didn't expect that she would do. She proposed that they make the relationship officially polygamous. Now, not because Joyce fancied the idea of polygamy, not because she loved the idea of sharing a husband. No woman does. No human does. Human beings are just like the image of God. We were born with things that God possessed, like anger, creativity, jealousy, right? So it's just that some societies think that women are less humans than humans, right? Human beings are innately jealous, and no one likes sharing what's theirs. So that polygamy proposal was in a desperate attempt to control the scandal, to curtail the situation, to preserve her position, and to stop that side chick, that Matiba, from completely replacing her. But Joyce made a serious mistake. She believed that structure could control a man who has no respect for structure. Now, Jonas's problem was never that he needed her permission to have another wife. His problem was that he was an egoistic, dishonest, entitled, narcissistic individual who was addicted to conquest. Even after Joyce made room for Matiba, he still continued looking for other women. So instead of solving anything, the arrangement created even more jealousy, complications, competition, and bitterness. What made Joyce such an interesting character for me is that she's not written as a perfect victim, as many of our African movies. Oh, this is a perfect victim, this is a perfect villain, I hate you, I love you. No, she was a mix. She was an intelligent person, proud, strategic, very emotional, image conscious, and dangerously vengeful. Joyce had me feeling many things. Some moments, or most moments though, I sympathized with her completely. And at other moments, I was just angry with her. I wanted to shake her and say, what is wrong with you? Come back to your senses. What is this? Enough is enough. And at other moments, I was just shocked at how far she was willing to go. Speaking of which, what happened next? Essie, another woman, came into the picture. A woman whom her husband presented as his brother's wife, but was indeed another wife, his first love that he had camped away. When Essie appeared, thus revealing decades of deception, Joyce's eyes eventually opened to see that Matiba is not really my problem. Oh, Matiba is not the beginning of Jonas's dishonesty. She is simply the most visible part of an already existing problem. And that revelation now forced Joyce to understand that even the history that she was preserving, that she believed belonged exclusively to her, was partly created from Jonas's lies. Now at this point, I don't even know how to quite quantify what Joy felt for Jonasi. She may have still appeared to love some parts of him and the history that they shared together, but at this point, love was no longer enough for the marriage to be sustained. Trust had disappeared, respect had deteriorated, and Jonasi eventually now became physically abusive. I think that was like the last straw. His violence against Joyce became a major turning point for her, especially when she told him that she didn't want the marriage anymore, and he told her that the only way they will be separated was in death, that he's not letting her go. So he didn't want to treat her right, yet he didn't want to let her go. See wahala. No be juju be that. So after Joyce and Matiba got thoroughly beaten up by Jonasi, let me say Matiba was the one that was thoroughly Matiba's beating was crazy. The both women who began as enemies soon realized that their real problem was not each other, and that competing for Jonasi was only strengthening him, fanning his ego while breaking them. That shared suffering produced something like a solidarity between them, which was so refreshing to see. Because in most movies, we see women fighting each other, tearing themselves each other, even in reality, not just movies, fighting and tearing themselves each other over a man that is just chilling and feeding off their rivalry. So it was so refreshing to see that solidarity between both of them. And then Joyce began moving towards securing her freedom from that man. Now, as if that was not even enough, Joyce abruptly cancelled a trip with her children and then came home suddenly to find this same husband in bed with their daughter's friend, child as young as his own daughter, right inside their own home. You can see that this is not a man you offer structure to, because this man had no boundaries. At this point, Joyce knew that she couldn't perform anymore. She abandoned her public performance and confronted Jonasi directly. What did she do? When Jonasi told her that he's not going to let her go, or less die with day for this marriage, Joyce arranged for a woman living with HIV to seduce Jonasi. She knows her husband very well, knowing that her husband's insatiable appetite for women, go skill through. So Jonasi contracted HIV and eventually died from related complications. Joyce also ensured that control of much of his estate passes to her son, Menzi. That whole scheme reveals Joyce's darkness, intelligence, and patience, because she did not react impulsively this time around. She planned the whole thing over a long period of time, waited for the outcome, and watched the man she loves, or the man she loved, die slowly and painfully, suffer before he died. She watched it and took it all in. Now, although Joyce's pain explains her desire for revenge, right, it still didn't justify murder. She defeated Jonasi, yes, but in trying to defeat Jonasi, she made him transform her into a beast. Joyce's character is very relatable because many people in reality remain in painful relationships that are eating them up, choking them, for reasons more complicated than love. I know when we're not in those shoes, it's easy for us to say, what are you sitting there? Why can't you leave? It's your fault. Leave. But in reality, many people stay for other reasons that are more complicated than love. Children, tithes and joint finances, religion, reputation, family pressure, years of investment. Because when you sow, it's normal for you to want to reap, right? The fear of starting all over again, especially when age is, you've advanced in age, it's a reality. Some say because of the belief that if they leave, they have allowed the other person, who they term a homebreaker, to win. So that was a very relatable part of Joyce's character. She was also very relatable because she showed us the difference between what some people post and what they truly experience in real life. So there Joyce was giving relationship advice publicly while her own marriage was disintegrating privately. Many viewers can also understand Joyce's anger towards Matiba, right? Nobody is, particularly pleased with a woman who is, coming into her marriage. But the truth is that it is often emotionally easier to confront third parties than for us to face our own spouses and accept that the person who made vows to you is the one repeatedly choosing to betray you. I really did love Joyce's character because she was so human, she was so real. She came with all the contradictions that human beings can be. Strong, but deeply insecure, wealthy and emotionally powerless, intelligent, yet irrational, loving but deeply vengeful, protective but still manipulative, a victim in one moment and an aggressor in another. So Joyce is many married African women. She represents respectability without peace, image without security. She represents women who are congratulated and hailed by society for maintaining a marriage, a long marriage, without anyone caring to know what maintaining that marriage is costing them. My mother married for 50 years, exemplary wife, at the cost of the woman's peace, at the cost of her sanity, at the cost of her life, her fulfillment, her joy. That is the reality of many African marriages. She represents the invisible labor of women who help men build successful lives, but later discover that their contribution does not guarantee loyalty. Just as I always tell you guys, help or assisting someone does not guarantee loyalty from that person. The only thing that does is character. That person's character and willingness. Joyce also represents many social media relationships where the couple becomes a brand. And once the marriage is connected to influence, public admiration, money, accepting failure becomes so much more harder. So you find couples like that forcing themselves to perform happiness while everything is falling apart in secret. So she shows that difference between public branding and private reality. Joyce also represents how far a woman scorned can go. How her desire for justice can become an obsession with revenge. Joyce represents a lot of you and I watching. And the lessons I would like us to take from Joyce's character in that story is 1. A public image cannot repair a private relationship. So photographs, fancy anniversary celebrations, vacation pictures, relationship advice cannot replace honesty and respect. it is important that we stay true to ourselves. Secondly, Joyce taught us that years invested are not a reason to keep investing more years in suffering. Joyce repeatedly tried to save a terribly toxic marriage because of everything that she had already put into it. But the question should be, does past investment guarantee a healthy future? Does it? Number 3, Joyce's story teaches us that we should not make the other woman solely responsible for deliberate actions that our own spouses have chosen to make. Yes, Matiba behaved wrongly. I do not like women like Matiba. You already know where I stand with things like that, and I have been very unapologetic about my values around these things. Women like Matiba are not my favorite people. But the truth is that Jonasi was the person who had more blame. He was the one who made commitments, who maintained the lies, and deliberately placed his wife in a situation where she had to compete with other women. So we women must learn to channel the bulk of our anger to the right people, not to the ones whom it is easier and more convenient for us to blame. Your husband is the problem. Fourthly, Joyce's role and story taught me that polygamy cannot and does not cure infidelity. See, if I told you once, I've told you 1,000 times, a man who cannot find satisfaction with one woman cannot be satisfied with two. Instead, he would even find more dissatisfaction because more women want more wahala. And that is why you will see that most of these men that call themselves polygamous men, most I didn't say all right, most men in polygamous marriages, you will still find them sleeping outside, still chasing girls outside. So it wasn't about just one woman. It's about who he is. Joyce attempted to contain Jonasi by presenting him a formal polygamous arrangement, thinking that would be the solution to the problem. It failed. And it failed woefully, because the real problem is not the number of wives. The real problem is having a reckless man who lacks discipline and is consumed in lust. Even if you give that man 10 women, when he sees another type, another shape, he will still pursue that one. So, my dear brothers and sisters, no polygamy can cure promiscuity or infidelity. It is a person problem. Fifth, Joyce also taught me from that series that leaving a bad situation does not always mean losing. We've been told, especially we as African women, we've been cultured that if you want to leave your husband for another woman, she will come and enjoy what you suffered for. You will lose. Now you go lose. Now you go shame. Now you go cry. Now you go die lonely. Now you go, there's so much fear that has been put in many of us that make us remain even when we know that we are dying slowly. We are dying inside. Even when we know that this place is not good for us, we still have been conditioned to stay because we don't want to lose. So Joyce initially believed that leaving meant surrendering to Matiba. But in reality, remaining in a deeply toxic situation costed her her peace, costed her her dignity. She was losing her mind. She was always crying, unhappy, sorrow. Costed her the mental well-being of her children. Those children, they say you are staying for your children, stay for your children. Those children were even getting more destroyed in that toxicity. And even now costed her moral clarity. So she may have even given up a good eternity and subjected herself to hell because she committed murder. So nobody can really tell anyone when to stay or when to leave a marriage. I don't believe in telling anybody. I believe that people should use their tongue to count their teeth because, everybody's threshold differs, right? I can only point out facts to you and say, do with this information what you please. But really telling someone to leave a marriage or stay, that's not anybody's decision to make for anybody. What I want to encourage us is for us to self-reflect and identify what is most important to us. Is peace, good health, sanity more important, or social presentation? None of it is good or bad. Make your decision and act on it. Lastly, Joy taught us that revenge is not the same as healing. She eventually got the outcome she wanted, but that revenge, did it erase the years of the humiliation? Did it repair the damage, the sleepless nights, the blood pressure that she must have, given herself? Did it undo the damage that she caused on herself and her children. It didn't, and it can't. So yes, I really did love Joyce's character because she represents several kinds of women at once. She represents the woman who has invested the best years of her life in a marriage and therefore feels that walking away would mean allowing another woman to enjoy what she built. Joyce represents the exemplary wife who is respected publicly but humiliated privately. Her social media brand is built around marital perfection, yet her husband is completely unhinged. That marriage that is admired in public but does not exist behind closed doors. Most importantly, Joyce represents the danger of allowing marriage to become your entire identity. Joyce was not only afraid of losing Jonasi, she was afraid of losing social respect, her status, position, wealth, the fallacy that she has defeated every obstacle and built the perfect life. So as we close on Joyce's story, the question is, was Joyce's greatest tragedy all the betrayal that she suffered from Jonasi, or the fact that in trying to defeat him, she slowly became a person worse than he is? Because believe me, a murderer is worse than a narcissist. Do you see Joyce in most African women? Drop your thoughts down in the comment section. Next, let's speak about Essie. There are so many Essies watching me. Essie is that woman dreamer that would rather settle for crumbs than forge her own path. Essie, played by Celeste Ntuli, was the biggest shock in that story. I couldn't believe Essie's part, the twist that Essie came with. She was that twist that I never saw coming. Now, everybody believes that Essie was married to Jonasi's brother, Magesh, only to discover that she had secretly been Jonasi's hidden wife for 20 years. Just imagine staying 20 years as a hidden project. Some people don't rate themselves. So. Essie was Jonasi's first love, the woman who believed in him long before he became rich and powerful. She even used her money from her business, her hairdressing business, to support his university education. But after all of her sacrifice, Jonasi married Joyce publicly and kept Essie hidden in the background. Essie was loving and very loyal, but she was a very insecure woman with no sense of what. She knew of Jonasi's wandering pants from the onset. Remember, when they were younger, Jonasi was hiding women up and down, but she was still desperate to hold on to him. She allowed people to believe that she belonged to Magesh because even being Jonasi's hidden trophy, being Jonasi's body and booty call, felt better and more fulfilling to her than losing him completely. So she accepted secrecy, believing that their long history made her special in some kind of way, even at the expense of a healthy household and her daughter's self-esteem. Essie's story also proves that you cannot eat your cake and have it, and you cannot have your cake and eat it, as I always tell you. Because Jonasi expected exclusive loyalty from women whom he was offering only fragments of himself. And life does not work that way. Like many polygamous men living in self-delusion and denial, he wanted the love and undivided attention of several women, yet he could not give each of these women the time, emotional security, and companionship that they needed. So he kept on dividing himself amongst these many women while expecting all of them to remain fully committed to him. But life does not work that way. That imbalance will create an emotional deficit, a gap. So despite Essie genuinely loved Jonasi, love could not replace the affection, the presence, and the intimacy that she was missing. And so she kept one strong, young, agile bobo to be meeting those intimate needs. For me, Essie represents women who helped to build a man from nothing only to become out of those men's leagues when he finally becomes successful. There is a saying that many men date who they can afford until they can afford who they want to date, right? Not all men, some men, right? Some other men are loyal, you know. So she also shows that being the first woman in a man's life or making sacrifices or knowing a man the longest does not guarantee that he will respect you. A man that will respect you is just a man that has chosen to respect you. Her arrival also changed everything in that movie because it proved that Matiba was never the beginning of Jonas's dishonesty. His lies had been going on for decades. And even after his death, Essie was still fighting and competing with his legal wife over his burial arrangements and over his sickness, who would administer food for him, showing how deeply Jonasi had trained these women to fight for a position in his life. He feeds off that feeling of importance. It is fuel to his ego. The lesson from Essie is simple. You see, any love that requires you to hide, to over-compromise, to lie, to reduce yourself to nothing, to rumbles, is not a love story. It is a wasted life spent waiting for a train that has far departed the train station. Essie loved Jonasi first, supported him first, married him secretly, but she was still never chosen, never openly embraced. And that is the reality of so many women. So let us drop our thoughts on these two powerful characters, these two women, Joyce and Essie, down in the comment section. In our next video, God willing, I'm going to analyze the other characters and of course the lessons. What's more important in this analysis are the lessons. I hope you are getting them and taking them as well. So guys, yes, we have come to the end of today's video. If you are new here, seeing my face for the first time, or if you've been watching us without subscribing, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, drop your thoughts down in the comment section, grab a copy of our book, The Unbroken Spirit. Also join our community so you don't end up with destroyed self-worth like Essie and now start making unhealthy compromises. Join our premium channel where I publish exclusive videos for you around self-building, confidence, and all of these things that will help us to make better decisions. It's me, your girl, Barrister Neze, and I'll see you guys in our next one. For now, bye bye.